yourself. But I did want to ask a couple of pertinent questions as you come up so that we can better understand who's standing up here giving us this information. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
If you had to be on a desert island and you had to have one food with you, not for survival, but like because it needs to be there.
Pizza.
What kind of pizza? That's an entire genre of food. What kind of pizza?
The Dougie of Fire, which is not on the menu.
Okay, on the
Just so
secret
you know,
menu.
that's a pro tip.
You can ask for the secret menu of fire. Okay, what's on that?
Not a secret of
It's too much.
Does it have the balsamic
Maybe
and
secret.
the
No,
fig?
it's not that one.
Something?
It's called about olives.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not it. It's good.
Sounds negative. I feel about all this.
It's not going well.
Okay, and the last question is, 3 foods you won't eat, please don't make you.
Oh, I really don't like bamboo shoots. Had a bad experience with that. I don't know. I mean, that's probably the only one.
That's it?
Fine, yeah. I mean, I'll eat anything.
Really? You're like a goat.
Yeah, maybe grasshopper. Once.
Wow.
Grasshopper, yeah.
Okay.
Earn the
Okay,
respect
so
of
if you need to have him
members.
on your survivor
You know?
team,
Yeah.
he's your guy because he will eat the worm.
I'll eat it.
Okay. All right.
I'll just drink it, whatever it tastes.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, now the opening I was. It's all good. 2020 is the year of adapt and overcome. So I have this friend named Roberto, and Roberto's a little bit overweight. A few years ago, Roberto called me on New Year's Day, and he said, "Dr. Ryan," and we're friends, but he still calls me Dr. Ryan. So he calls me on New Year's, and he says, "Dr. Ryan, this is going to be my year. I really want to lose 20 pounds. I've set a goal. I've got a plan. I really want to do it. Do you believe I can do it?" I said, "Yeah, you can do it, Roberto." So Roberto kind of goes up and down and up and down and up and down. Before you know it, he's back to where he started from. The next year rolls around, and Roberto calls me again on New Year's and says, "Dr. Ryan, this is going to be my year. I've set a goal. I got a plan. I really want to lose 20 pounds. Do you believe I can do it?" I said, "Yeah, I believe you can do it, Roberto. Do it." So he kind of goes up and down and up and down. Before you know it, Roberto's back to square one. Last year, New Year's Day, the phone rings. It's Roberto. Roberto calls me, "Dr. Ryan, this is my year. I really want to lose 20 pounds. I set a goal. I've got a better plan. Do you believe I can do it?" I said, "Roberto, I don't think so." He goes, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, in life, what I've learned is that you don't get what you want. You get what you're committed to." And isn't that true? We're all here today because we want to be healthy, we want to be happy, we want to increase our bottom line, we want to grow our business, we want to grow our people. You know, we want to show up on purpose with energy and passion every single day. And yet, statistically speaking, most of us don't have that, right? There's this gap between where we're at right now and where we want to be, right? And so I'm going to give you some ideas today. In fact, I'm going to share 5 ideas.
Oh, clicker.
Yeah, right here. So I'm going to share 5 ideas with you to increase your personal power and help your employees live their best lives. And just before we get started, I just want to say thanks to Mark and to Courtney and the Advanced Benefits team for having me out here. I think this is totally awesome. I get to speak at a lot of corporate wellness things. My wife and I get to speak all around the country and do different events. And I just think this is rad. And I want to acknowledge you guys for being here, because just the fact that you took time out of your day or your week and you left your business or you left your team or whatever it was, your families, means that you're committed. You are committed. You're an action taker, and that's step 1 to real change. So I'm going to share 5 ideas with you today. And the reason why I'm calling them ideas and not steps or keys is because what I don't want you to do is to go home and try to do all 5 of these things. How many people have ever been to a seminar before and you leave with 27 action steps and a notebook full of stuff? And when you do that, how likely is it that any of that stuff ever gets done? Almost zil, or none. So the point is that I want you, at least for my section, I want you to write down one thing. Wait till the end, you can write down a bunch of stuff, but I want you to circle one thing, and I want you to be committed to that one thing. And what I can promise you is that if you go back to your business, you go back to your life, and you implement one thing, right? Success begets success. That one thing is going to turn into 2 things, which is going to turn into 3 things. So I'm going to go through 5 different things. You pick and choose what you think is the most relevant for you and your team. but just choose the one thing to start with. So a little bit about me. My name is Dr. Ryan. I'm a chiropractor. I'm also a certified functional medicine practitioner. My wife is both of those things as well, so it's really fun. We started our clinic here in Coeur d'Alene about 9 years ago. And since that time, we've just had a blast. And we've gotten to know some amazing people like Leslie and Jeff and Courtney and some of you in this room. But professionally, my wife gets to do a bunch of stuff outside of our clinic too. We host a podcast. We get to speak all over the place. I'm kind of a fitness junkie, so I like to do stuff that pushes my body in that way. But I will say, hands down, the proudest thing, my proudest achievement with my wife has been raising our 4 kids in this little slice of heaven that we call North Idaho. And so that's what we love to do. Lots of family adventures. We've tried to create this culture within our family and also within our team of a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today. So where we're going to start is with our current state. I think this is important, and I do this no matter where I speak, because I think it's important to look at your reality before you can create a clear vision moving forward. And the reality is that when it comes to health and wellness, we're not doing so hot as a country. Would you guys agree with that? You could read the statistics. 4 out of 5 people die from heart disease or cancer. 1 out of 3 people is diagnosed with diabetes in their lifetime. 1 out of 4 kids is now being put on a medication by the time they graduate high school that they typically never come off of, or it's a condition that they continue to struggle with for the rest of their lives. We spend more money on healthcare than any other country on the planet. We take more medications. We only make up 5% of the world's population. We take over 73% of the world's pharmaceutical drugs in the United States, right? And so what we're doing, and we rank 37th in the world, by the way, in overall health, according to the World Health Organization. So what we're currently doing for health is not getting us the desired outcome, right? We're trying really hard. We're doing all this stuff. We're not getting the outcomes that we want. And how this affects your bottom line, I think this is really interesting. Listen to this. Companies that incorporate corporate wellness, which is why I love what Advanced Benefits does, and the fact that that's one of their pillars, companies with corporate wellness programs save $250 million a year, right? Just with healthcare costs. And the reason why I put these things up here is I know there's some CFOs in the room, or some financial people, or you're a C on the disc, and so you just like numbers and data. You want to make sure what's the ROI on all this stuff? Great, we're going to lose some weight, we're going to have fun, we're going to get fit, but what's the dollar amount that I'm going to get back or save? This is for you, okay? The fitness stuff and the health stuff is going to come in a minute, but this is really important stuff, because at the end of the day, we're all in business. Right? And money's not a bad thing. Money's what we use to pay people. Money's what we use to grow our impact in our community and give back and hire more people and pay them better than average and do all these different things. Take our teams on these amazing experiences. So money's a big thing, but health has a direct impact on your bottom line and your return on investment. 60% of healthcare costs come from loss of productivity or missed work days. Employers get a good return on investment from health. For every $1, this is really interesting. Jessica was talking about how much money we spend going in, but we don't think about how much money that results in coming back. For every dollar that we put in and invest in our teams and ourselves and in terms of health in the workplace, we get $6 back, right? So I think about it like if I could put $1 in the slot machine and automatically get $6 back every single time, like you'd never leave that slot machine. It always pays dividends. But if you get so myopically focused that you're just so focused on the dollar, right, it can be scary to put the dollar in. But you got to realize that it always yields a return. It's not always right away, but it always yields a return. When health and well-being are promoted, organizations are seen 2.5 times more likely to be a best performer and 4 times less likely to lose talent within the next year. And an organization that actively promotes wellness is 3.5 times more likely to encourage creativity and innovation among employees, who are 8 times more likely to be engaged in what they do. And that's what we all want, right? We all want ourselves. I have days where I show up to work and I'm working with patients or I'm creating content and I don't feel super engaged. Just to be honest, am I the only one? You guys have days like that too? And you're supposed to be the leader. And listen, if that happens to us, you can only imagine what that feels like to an employee. Right? Someone who maybe doesn't come to stuff like this all the time. Someone who maybe doesn't invest in themselves and their mindset, their personal development, and maybe even their health. If it happens to us, it's guaranteed to happen to the people that we lead and serve, and probably on an exponential level. Right? So you just have to realize that your health has a direct impact on the bottom line. And so again, I'm going to share a few ideas with you today to help you increase the health, and not even the health. Jeff and I were talking about this just a minute ago, and I think this is an important delineation. And it's not just about doing stuff. You know, it's not just about checking the box and doing stuff just because it's a good idea or it's in a book or you heard it on a podcast. It's about creating a culture in your office, right? Just like we try to create a culture within our family, that this is just what Sousleys do. And these are things that Sousleys don't do that. Why? Not because it's good or bad, right or wrong, it's just that's not who we are. We want to become a certain type of people because a certain type of people just automatically does certain types of things and achieves certain types of outcomes. Do you know what I mean? It's like the whole, you know, if you ever heard the analogy of, like, there's a difference between getting dropped off on the top of Mount Everest, which you can't do because you can't fly that high anyway, but just go with me, if you could. There's a difference between getting dropped off on the top of Mount Everest and saying that you've summited Mount Everest, because technically you did, versus the 2 or 3 years that it took to train and all the pain and all the maybe failed attempts that you had and all the agony and all the struggle that it took to actually make it to the top. The end result is the same. But the process is totally different, and it's not about the end result, it's about who you become in the process, right? And so again, this is about creating a culture where health and well-being is just, it's part of who you are, it's part of your DNA, right? Maybe we have a down quarter because of COVID, it doesn't matter, it doesn't change who we are. Because who you are is always going to manifest, it's always going to shine through. That's why if you take all the money away from a millionaire, what happens? They get it all back. Why? Because that's who they are. And on the opposite end, you can give $1 million to a poor person or someone who's bad with money, and what happens to them? They lose it all. In fact, if you look at statistics relative to the lottery winners, in the past 50 years, the majority of lottery winners end up broke or bankrupt because it's not part of who they are. That's why you don't give your kids things sooner than they're ready for them, right? Because they need to become the person that can handle that responsibility and or blessing, right? Before you actually give it to them. So what is health? We're going to ask 3 questions today, okay? Number 1 is, what is health? It sounds really basic, but a lot of people get this wrong. Like if I were to ask you to fill in the blank at the end of the sentence, I judge my health by how I what?
Feel.
Feel. Everybody says feel, right? And it's human nature because you woke up this morning, and whether you consciously thought about it or not, you rolled out of bed, you put your feet on the floor, and if you felt pretty good, you thought to yourself, I'm doing pretty good. And if you didn't feel pretty good, you thought to yourself, I'm not doing pretty good. That's human nature, but judging your health entirely based on how you feel is a really dangerous thing to do. And so the reason why this is important, the definition of health, is because my section is all about creating and promoting health and well-being within your employees. You have to know what health is if you're going to help your employees or your team or even yourself achieve it. And health is not about how you feel. In fact, how you feel in and of itself has very little to do with the actual definition of health. This is a picture of my daughter Elle, who just turned 9 a couple weeks ago, and her grandma, so my mother-in-law, Katie. And in that picture, Katie, my mother-in-law, looked and felt totally fine. So she woke up that morning, just like many of us, and felt totally fine, so she thought to herself, I'm healthy. And about a month after that picture was taken, she went to her doctor for kind of a routine checkup, and they ran a bunch of tests, and they found some stuff, and so they ran more tests. Ultimately, she got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and 5 weeks later, she passed away. And my kids lost their grandma, and my wife lost her best friend. She felt fine in the picture, but was she healthy? Health's not about how you feel. Health is about function. And that's even what the World Health Organization defines health as. In this definition, it doesn't say anything about symptoms or how you feel or whether or not you're expressing, pain or anything like that. It's about how you function. The definition is when your body's functioning and healing at 100%. And this is really important because the 5 things that I'm going to give you, the 5 ideas, all have to do with this. It's about increasing function. It's mentally, spiritually, emotionally, but it's increasing function because if your body's functioning at 100%, all the stuff on that first slide about degenerative illness and chronic disease, it's impossible to have heart disease if your body's functioning at 100%. Did you know that? It's impossible to have cancer if your body's functioning at 100%. You can't have asthma if your body's functioning at 100%. You can't have allergies or Crohn's disease or acid reflux or even chronic pain if your body's functioning at 100%. So that's always the goal, right? That's the goal with my patients, and it should be all of our goal to just achieve and succeed in life, is to get our body and do anything that we can to improve or increase function. What's really interesting is that studies show you have to lose, this cut it off, but if you can see this, you have to lose about 40% function in your body before you start to have symptoms. So like if you have acid reflux and you have a symptom of that part of your body's lost at least 40% function. With my mother-in-law, she had 0 symptoms because slowly, probably over the course of 10 years or so, by the time they actually found it and she had symptoms, she was slowly losing function in her pancreas and its ability to regulate blood sugar, and also her immune system's ability to keep the cancer cells in check from multiplying and metastasizing. Meanwhile, she's losing all that function, she feels nothing until the very, very end, until when she finally has symptoms, right? So the point is that you can't judge your health by how you feel. It's all about function. So we're gonna go through 5 things. These are just the 5 things that we focus on in our clinic. So what I did is I tried to distill down just 1 or 2 action steps or tips or tricks that you can employ in your business. And you can do this with your own life, with your family, with your business. In my opinion, there shouldn't be any difference, right? If you're doing things differently with your family than you are in your business, to me, that's a problem. But these are the 5 things, okay? And they're all about restoring or improving function. And again, if your body's functioning better, you're gonna have more energy. You're gonna have less brain fog. Your memory's gonna work better. You're gonna have less stress. You're gonna have better blood pressure. You're gonna have better cholesterol. You're gonna have all these different things. What does that ultimately result in? Because I know what venue this is. This is a business venue. We're talking about growing our bottom line, growing our business, growing our people. Ultimately, what it results in is a better life. It results in a better life. And if you're a better human being, if you're a healthier human being, you're gonna be more passion-filled and purpose-driven, which is what we all want. And passion-filled, purpose-driven, healthy people make great employees. Yes? They make great bosses. We all want to work for a person like that. We all want to go to church and be led by a person like that. We all want to employ people like that. But if you don't have your health, and this is probably the most important thing in my mind, and the reason why I like doing this kind of stuff is no matter what you do, whether you're the janitor or the CEO, you have a purpose on this planet. And you can't serve your purpose if you're sick, suffering, or dead. Yes? If you have better health, you're going to do a better job of whatever you're here to do, right? So let's get into it. I'm going to give you just a few things. This is where you might want to write some stuff down. Again, I want you to just choose one by the time I'm done. But I'm going to go through these 5 things, and these are not exhaustive, but these are 5 of, one or 2 from each category that I think are the most important. So when it comes to mindset, I don't need to tell you that stress is a killer, but just a couple of statistics. 80% of all doctor's visits are related to the effects of stress. Stress costs businesses in America $300 billion per year. Stress causes a fight or flight response in your body, physiologically speaking. Stress is not good. Stress can be good if you're being chased by a bear in the woods. You want to be stressed out. Thank God you have a fight or flight response or a sympathetic response. But when that happens every day, 8 hours a day, all week long, months, years later, stress is a killer, right? You can't run from a bear for your whole life, right? You will die or become dinner. So short amounts of stress is okay. It's called eustress, EU stress. Eustress is a good thing. It's the kind of stress that you get when you work out in the gym. It's stressful, but if you kept working out in the gym and you never stopped, the gym would kill you, right? Running, same thing. A little bit of stress, good. A lot of stress, bad. So here's 3 things that you can do, 2 things. One of them is the 3 threes. So this is something that I kind of just adapted, modified after following different mentors and reading tons of books and podcasts over the years. This is just something I've adapted for my own personal life system, but you can steal it if you want to. And I have my team doing this too. And I actually sat down a couple weeks ago as I was preparing for this, and I asked the team, I said, hey, listen, for the mindset piece, because I spend a lot of time, we do these team retreats every quarter as well, and we spend a lot of time going through mindset and just how to improve your personal power in your life. And I just asked them, what are some of the most powerful things that I've done to help you improve your mindset and reduce stress? And these were the top 2. So you're getting this from them. But the 3 threes, I do this every single morning. I write it in a little journal. This is the only journaling I do. If you do more, great for you. This is the journaling that I do. I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. This is powerful, and this is non-negotiable. Why is that? Because studies show that it's impossible Biochemically, in your brain and neurologically, it's impossible to be in a state of anxiety or depression and gratitude at the same time. Can't happen. Your brain doesn't work like that. Your brain is a machine. It's an organ just like any other thing in your body, and your brain can't be in those two states at the same time. So if you're intentionally thinking about something that's positive or that you're grateful for in your life, and there's always something, right? Your house could burn down, but there's something that you could find every single day to be grateful for. Yes? Yes. There's always something, right? You still have breath in your lungs, blood in your veins. There's always something that you can anchor to. So 3 things you're grateful for. Three things that you're pursuing, or your 3 most current goals, right? I kind of break this down into quarter. So every quarter I have top 3 goals, and they could be business, they could be family, they could be financial, they could be whatever, personal, right? Personal development. But I write down my 3 goals, and they're the same goals every single morning for an entire 90 days. Why do I do that? Repetition. I'm burning that image into the neurology of my brain, right? It's like setting a thermostat in my brain. There's this thing in your brain called the reticular activating center. And it's almost like a thermostat. And what's cool about a thermostat is, right, which I think this one's a little warm, but I'm speaking too. So someone came in here at some point and set the thermostat, and then they just took off. And no matter what temperature it is outside, the thermostat's automatically looking to find balance or homeostasis at that set point. And what the reticular activating center does in your brain is the same thing. If you are intentional and you tell your brain what to look for, your brain will automatically find it. It's like if you've ever bought a red car before, or any colored car, right? The last time that you bought a car, this probably happened to you. You know, I just bought an F-150 a few years ago, and it was charcoal, and I changed the tires, and I did a couple things, and I thought, man, this is custom. Nobody else is going to have this truck. Guess what? Every single day I drive around in North Idaho, I see someone with a charcoal F-150 with black tires. I'm like, what the heck? You know, it's like everybody has this car. It's like the most popular car in 2017. Not really, but it's just that my brain started looking for it because I was intentional about what I was thinking about, right? So what you think about comes about. That's why this is so important. It's why it's important that I believe you should do this in the morning. And then this is the most powerful because, again, you can want to have a nice life. You can set goals. You can have a plan. You can be grateful. But if you don't actually do anything about it, if you're not committed to taking action, it's going to be just miserable, right? Your life's going to be regret. It's going to be frustrating. So this is the most powerful thing, and this is the thing that my team said made the biggest difference in their productivity and also their clarity. Did you guys know that when it comes to employee satisfaction, the #1 cause of employee dissatisfaction is not pay, which we would all think. As a business leader or HR or a CEO or an owner, you would think, well, I just don't pay my people enough and that's why they're leaving. It's not. It's clarity of roles and expectations. If people know exactly what they're supposed to do, and then they feel like you are actively and intentionally equipping them to win at their job, even if it's something really minuscule, they'll be happy, right? It's like with your kids. If you tell them, hey, this is a good job, this is a bad job, and then when you do a good job, I'm going to reward you for that, they're happy, right? That person doing something positive, and they have to identify which value that aligns with, right? So the example might be, oh, Melissa gets the core value of people over process, which is #4, because she took a really difficult phone call. It was a patient who was really disgruntled, and they were confused and upset. And we have this process or this policy, but our core value is people over process, so she made that person feel like that they were winning, even though it wasn't necessarily part of our policy, right? So she gets people over process. That's what that would look like. And again, when I asked my team what the most powerful thing that we do from a mindset standpoint, it was the 3 threes, and it was the core value circle, right? Because so often, and again, if you're in management or you're a 3 on the Enneagram like I am, and you're just like, okay, I just did an Ironman, fine, I'll have a half a piece of pizza, and then I'm on my phone looking at the date for the next one. You know, it's like, gosh, celebrate for God's sake. Like, take a deep breath. But if you're wired like that, you're wired like that. But what this forces you to do is it forces you to catch people doing things right and then celebrate that. And here's an important concept that I learned. This applies to customers or patients as well as your team. What gets celebrated gets repeated. It's no different than your kids or when you're training your dog. You can't just, punish your dog or your kids when they're doing something bad and then expect them to figure out what's right. You got to catch them doing something right and then reward that, celebrate it. So this is a way to systematize exactly that. You guys good? Okay. I won't spend so much time on these because these are a little bit more obvious, but when it comes to nutrition, just an idea for you to implement into your team, do a smoothie challenge. You know, I don't need to tell you that bad nutrition is going to affect performance and mindset and stress, but just a couple things to be aware of, because I know, you know, if you're like us, like we provide food, we provide snacks, we do a lot of team outings and stuff. If you're providing stuff that's going to undermine the health and the cognitive function of your team, and then get upset at them later when they're groggy in the afternoon or they're falling asleep or they're, you know what I mean? I mean, you're kind of laying in the bed that you made. So nutrition is a big thing. Again, if your employees are like race cars, you're not going to put crummy fuel into your best race cars, right? You want them to perform at their very best. So a couple things that you've probably heard before, but they're worth repeating. Sugar is an anti-nutrient. It's not just that sugar has very little nutritional value and that sugar is bad for you and sugar messes up your hormones and makes you lethargic and reduces metabolism and causes you to store fat. Those things are all true, but sugar is an anti-nutrient. So when you eat sugar, it undermines anything else healthy that you're eating. Number two, processed food. This is important because it's really easy just to say, hey, just fill up the pantry in the back or fill up the team kitchen with like a bunch of snacks, like a bunch of packaged stuff from Costco, because it's cheap, it's easy, people grab it on the go. And I'm not saying everything in a package is bad. However, most stuff that's processed, it has a shelf life that the manufacturer wants to be a long time, so they put artificial stuff in it. Preservatives, sweeteners, additives, neurotoxic stuff. But processed foods cause toxicity. And toxicity, amongst a lot of other things, you know, especially in the workspace, leads to brain fog and weight loss resistance, which is low energy, it's lack of motivation, right? And even has something to do with self-esteem, because a lot of people are, you know, actively trying to mind their nutrition or their weight, and so if they're not hitting that goal, it bleeds into other things that they're doing in life. Artificial sweeteners or neurotoxins, this one's a huge one. So things like soda and juices are just full of artificial sweeteners like aspartame and Splenda, NutraSweet, all those different things. They're neurotoxic. They literally cause toxicity specifically in your nervous system, including your brain. And this is, it's another one that's obvious, but it's just most people are overfed and undernourished. So it's not about eating a bunch of food, it's not about providing a bunch of stuff, but it's about eating the right things. So one way to systematize this, and these are all just ideas that we've done kind of here and there in the past, things that you can do with your team, do a smoothie challenge. And I know they put cards on the table, and so really the only resources that I have for you, if you want to email me, because I know you have the opportunity to email whoever you want for more stuff, all I was going to give out was just a bunch of PDFs that I have that have a lot of this stuff on the PDFs. So it's like little like worksheets. So if you want the recipe that we use for our smoothie challenge, I'll just send that to you in a PDF if you just email me and say, hey, send me the smoothie recipe. Or send me what the 3 threes were, or send me your core values, or whatever you want. I mean, all this stuff is for you guys. So just email me, okay? Smoothie challenge. Just do it for 30 days. You know, maybe everybody on the team does a smoothie every work day, and that's what you do for breakfast, right? What we did is we bought these embossed or you know, whatever you call it, put the name on the bottle, the personalized shaker cups, and then all of our team got these personalized shaker cups. It cost us like $10 a piece, and then we just gave our employees all the smoothie ingredients for a month, and we all just did it together, right? We weren't legalistic about it or judgmental if someone didn't do it or they kind of fell off track, but it was just a way to create culture and community. All right, next one is oxygen and exercise. This one's my favorite. And my team absolutely loves this because one of the things that we do, and again, I don't love suffering, brings people together, right, Jeff? That's why CrossFit is so addictive. Triathlon, same thing. I mean, it really does. Like, there's just something to be said for when you suffer with people, it brings you together. So this does not mean we're doing an hour-long CrossFit WOD every day right before we see patients, but what we do is every day, right before our afternoon shift, we just do 2 to 5 minutes, depending on what it is that we're doing. We'll just do 2 to 5 minutes of some kind of body weight exercise, and we'll do it together. And the point's not to get super sweaty or out of breath because we're about to open the doors and see patients. But it is just to do something together, and it's for a couple of reasons. Number one, you know, studies show that over only 23% of Americans get enough exercise every week, so this is just one way that I can help my employees not be that statistic. 30 minutes, which we're not doing, but 30 minutes of exercise is more effective than antidepressants for anxiety and depression. mean, this one's huge. Did you know that 6 out of 10 Americans are depressed? And that 3 out of those 6, so 30% of all adult Americans are clinically depressed, meaning they've been diagnosed or taking a psychotropic medication. Like black box psychotropic medication, like stuff that you're not supposed to take and then operate machinery. And 3 out of 10 of our adult, workforce is taking that stuff, and they're coming to work thinking they're okay because they're not driving a Caterpillar, hauling thousands of pounds of dirt, but they're sending emails to your customers. Or they're doing customer service, they're trying to handle objections, people that have issues, or maybe they're leading other people in your business. If you can just get people moving a little bit, people feel better. And I know Jeff's going to talk a little bit about this too, about the neurotransmitters and the hormones and all that kind of stuff. But just get people moving. I mean, you'd be surprised. Like, how many times do you show up to the office, whether it's in the morning or after lunch, and it's just kind of like, okay, everybody, let's get this done. We got 4 hours, let's just power through. And it's just like, no matter what you do, it's just flatline, right? The best way to break through that is not a motivational speech or something like that, which I do every now and again, but it's not, the best way to break through that is just do 2 minutes of burpees. Or do 2 minutes of, and it doesn't have to be burpees, but do 2 minutes of push-ups, do 2 minutes of what? I mean, this is just us. So again, you don't have to crush your team or yourself. This is just us doing prayer sits. So you can do them sitting on the wall, but prayer sit is just where you're holding a squat. And I keep the time, obviously, because I always make us go a little bit longer. But it can be fun. We always have something fun. We always do some kind of like question of the day, or what's your favorite hobby, or tell us something that nobody else knows about you. We make it some kind of team building. It doesn't have to take long. But we do this every single afternoon, so 4 days a week. All right, moving into toxicity. So I talked a little bit about this earlier, but toxicity leads to brain fog. I mean, the number one relative outcome or relative manifestation, just in terms of the business world, relative to toxicity, is brain fog. Again, people are staring at a computer screen or they're on the phone and they're just kind of off in la-la land. And I know I feel like this sometimes, right? Like if I have too much caffeine, not enough water, not enough sleep, the beginning stages of adrenal fatigue, which over 60% of Americans suffer from and don't even know it, and 95% of people before they're dead experience full-blown adrenal fatigue at some point in their life. Toxicity has a lot to do with that, right? So I'm not going to get into all the different things that lead to toxicity, but a couple of really simple things that you can do to minimize the detrimental effects of toxicity is just do a water challenge. I mean, you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. When I meet with functional medicine patients and we talk about weight loss or hormone balance or energy or fatigue, the number one first thing that I start getting that person to do is just drink more water. And it's crazy. Usually after 2 to 4 weeks, I'll get reports back and people are like, man, I mean, I've tried all these diets and these plans, and turns out all I had to do was just hydrate. Well, yeah, your body's mostly made up of water. And all the chemical reactions that happen in your body, all the things that produce life and energy in your body, most of them happen in an aqueous solution, meaning they need water to function and happen efficiently. And so if you're dehydrated, those things are going to happen slower. And if the physiological reactions are happening slower in your body, your brain's going to work slower. Your output's going to be slower, right? Just like an athlete or a race car that doesn't have the fuel that they need. So what you could do, you could incorporate some intermittent fasting. That's maybe a little bit next level. But I would just start with the water challenge. Something really easy that you can do is you can download the water app. It's a free app that will just track your ounces of water. And then just set a goal. If you want the medical advice or what have you, the average person should get at least half their body weight in ounces every single day. We'd actually probably do a little bit better if we had closer to 60% of our body weight. Meaning, if you weigh 120 pounds, or if you weigh 200 pounds, you'd be drinking 120 ounces of water every day. That'd be 60% of your body weight in ounces. Make sense? Just simple. It's simple stuff. And here's the thing, you might be thinking, well, this is just obvious stuff. What's simple to do is also simple not to do. And that actually leads us, well, I'm going to talk about one more thing. I'm not going to talk about chiropractic, even though I really want to. This is actually where I can spend some time. But what I do want to talk about is your spine and posture, right? We're not going to talk about getting adjusted and going to the chiropractor. What we are going to talk about is how bad, and I loved when Jessica was talking about stand-up desks, just like, I mean, that got me excited. It's like, but so here's why this is important. You know, your nervous system runs through your spine. I think most people realize that. Your brain is what communicates to and controls your whole body. But your nervous system, these nerves that come through your spine are what control the various organs in your body. I mean, there's literally nothing in your body that's not connected to your nervous system. Your heart, your lungs, your liver, your adrenal glands, all your muscles, your immune system. Everything's controlled by your nervous system, but your brain has to be able to communicate clearly through the spinal cord and then out the nerves, kind of like the wires in a building, in order to get your body to function and heal like it's supposed to. What's the definition of health? Function. What controls function? Nervous system. Where is your nervous system? It's inside your skull and then your spine, and then it branches out, right? So your spine has direct relationship to the function of your body, including energy, metabolism, even hormone balance, anxiety, stress. A bad spine doesn't just cause back pain, which is what most people think of with chiropractic, right? Like you probably saw my name on the thing, and you're like, why is he going to come up here and talk about back pain? Like, I don't need that. Chiropractic, that's 5% of what we do. In fact, did you know, just a quick side note, you can impress people at the next party you go to. Did you know that in 1895, chiropractic started when a guy named D.D. Palmer, who was a magnetic healer, gave another guy named Harvey Lillard, who was a janitor, late one night in the building, gave him an accidental adjustment in his neck. He popped his neck, and Harvey Lillard, who had been deaf in that ear for over 20 years, got his hearing back the next day. That's how chiropractic started. It wasn't, let's figure out how to fix people's back pain, or sciatica, or neck pain, or migraines. Do we help with those things? Of course, because those things are functional loss, just like anything else. But the whole point of chiropractic, the way it started, was with restoring function to an organ. It had nothing to do with pain. My point is that when the nerves in your spine get compromised because of bad posture, or because of slips, trips, and falls, injuries, accidents, all this stuff, it affects function, right? And it doesn't just cause pain. This is probably the number one way that we cause damage unintentionally to our spine in the workplace, right? And here's what's ironic. You know, we do this all day, and then when we go take a 15-minute break, what do? Go do that. We should be doing that, right? But we're ruining our spine all day long. In fact, I pulled up a couple of statistics. This is from an amazing book that if you care to nerd out on this stuff like I do, you can look it up. But it's actually by a PT named Kelly Starr. It's called Desk Bound. Listen to this. The average American spends 13 hours a day sitting. 13 hours. I mean, there's only 24 hours in a day. You probably sleep 6 to 8 of those. Most of your life is spent non-weight bearing or in a chair, right? Dr. James Levine, who is head of the Mayo Clinic at Arizona State University, is a medical doctor, he found that 1 hour of sitting results in 2 hours of lost life. When you sit for an hour, which is why we're all going to get up after this. I shouldn't die on me now. But 1 hour. I mean, think about that. 13 hours a day. And is it not interesting that for the first time in recorded history, our youngest generation is predicted or projected to not outlive their parents? Did you know that? According to the CDC and the World Health Organization, our kids, so we have 4 kids, 9, 6, 3, and 1. Our kids are projected to not outlive me and Aaron. It's not just because we're sitting, but we need to pay attention, right? Yes, it affects back pain. It causes, issues like sciatica, and just being sedentary is not good for you, obviously, right? But again, when you sit too much, when you're not active, when you don't move around, it doesn't just lead to those things, but it affects function, right? And again, this whole thing is about us getting the most out of our lives and our team. All right, I'm going to fast forward through a couple of these. Back pain. After I just said it's not about back pain. Nobody wants back pain, though. I mean, come on. And studies show that 80% of Americans experience back pain, so it's worth mentioning. Because if you have a bunch of back pain, you don't want to go to work, or you don't want to do a good job at work. Back pain accounts for 264 million lost work days every single year, just in America. 80% of people experience back pain on a regular basis. Chronic pain reduces cognitive function and memory. This is a huge one. Poor posture increases fatigue. I want you to do something real quick with me. I want you to put your head way out in front of your shoulders. Try to take a deep breath in. Put your head back over your shoulders. Take a deep breath in. Obviously, you feel a difference. Why is that? You're getting more oxygen into your lungs. What's the number one nutrient that your body needs to live and survive and thrive? Oxygen. Studies show, Renee Callier is a medical doctor. He's the head doctor of rehab and sports medicine at University of Southern California. He found that if you have forward head posture beyond 10 millimeters for an extended period of time, it reduces lung capacity by 30%. So imagine that all day long, or 13 hours a day, you're getting 30% less of the number one nutrient that your body needs to thrive and have energy. Of course you're going to be fatigued. Of course people feel like they have to go to Starbucks at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? All you got to do is get people to sit up and stand up and move around. So a couple of tips. Yes, standing desks, don't even look at the price tag, just do it. Just do it. In fact, according to Kelly Starrett, I love this stuff, I love it. Listen to this. Seated office workers have more musculoskeletal injuries, which lead to lost productivity and missed days work. Seated office workers have more musculoskeletal injuries than construction workers, statistically speaking. Standing desks, they did a study, there's actually 3 different cited sources on this. Standing desks improve executive function and working memory, just by working at a standing desk. They also found that the average person that works from a standing workstation burns over 1,000 more calories a day than someone that works at a sitting station. So you want to talk about helping your employees reach their health goals and just become better human beings and more happy and fulfilled, passion-filled, purpose-driven. Just have them stand up every now and again, or maybe all the time, right? Okay, last one. Sitting too much. This is another study from the World Health Organization. Sitting too much has now become the 4th biggest preventative killer in the world. So in terms of preventable illness, sitting is now number 4. 3.2 million people died last year alone just from sitting too much. Crazy, right? This is about a little bit more than just your bottom line. This is about the health and the future and the legacy that you get to help your employees leave, right? So a couple of tips, and then I'll wrap it up. Standing desks, check it. Yes, that's your one, maybe right there. Movement timers, this is another one. If you have people that have a workstation where they're spending a lot of time at a computer and sometimes like hours on end because they're programming or coding or working on accounts, have them set a timer. And if your office setting allows you to set a corporate timer, so there's one timer kind of like in a CrossFit gym where the beeper goes off and everybody does the same thing, you can do it like that. But at the very least, have people set a timer on their phone so that every 30 minutes they have like a 60-second period. It doesn't have to be 20 minutes. 60 seconds where they stand up and they just kind of move around, they reverse the posture that they were in. And the other thing that you can do is you can do a posture lab. So actually, I've had a couple of businesses have me come in and help them set this up. So what a posture lab is, and this is actually just a picture of a lunch and learn that I did talking about this, but
Yeah.
is it? Oh, it is. I didn't see that. We talked about a posture lab. We still need to make that happen. Anyway, I'll donate some stuff. How about that? We'll make it happen. That's my promise. You guys are all my witnesses. But anyway, I've actually gone into a couple other businesses in town. We've actually set up these posture labs where employees can go in, even just for a few minutes, and they can just undo the negative posture that they were in during their workday. And it's phenomenal. I mean, it increases energy. It gives them something positive to go do for their spine and their posture. We even had one business that added some like exercise equipment in there. I think it's a phenomenal idea, right? So just do something. I mean, standing desk would just be the easiest thing, but just do something. Last question, and this one's 2 minutes or less. Why don't people do the things that they know they should do? This might be the most important question. Why don't people do the things they know they should do? All of us in this room, myself included, are not doing something in your life that you know you should be doing in order to make your life better, to become more of who you were created to be. Why don't we do it?
You have to change.
Change is harder than staying the same. That's part of it. What else? Habit. Yeah, habit's hard to break.
We don't think we have time.
No time, no money, don't know how, need more information, need more coaching, don't know where to start, too confusing. And all that stuff's true. But here's the thing. when you are, where is it? There. When you're given a death sentence, none of that stuff matters. When Katie got diagnosed with cancer, she became the most motivated, consistent, disciplined person you've ever met in your life. The hard thing was it was too late. Why don't people do the things that they know they should do? And it's not just with their health, it's with your money. There are things that you should be doing with your money that you're not, that you shouldn't be doing. Me too. People you should be giving, people you should be giving to, people you should be serving, things that you should be doing, action you should be taking. Why don't you do them? Because we don't think it's going to happen to us. We think we have a lot more time than we actually do, right? And I'll just close with this ancient proverb: when you have your health, you have many wishes. When you lose your health, you have one. Health has to be a part of the equation. If you have your health, it's going to set you up to do all the things that you want for yourself, your business, and your team. And that's my hope and prayer for you. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We want to thank you for coming today, for sharing that information with us. I know that I want the smoothie recipe.